Town manager, do we need a non-public session?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And it's, I think it's 91 A and C.
See.
The ones we need. Okay, next item on the agenda, the January 16th, 2019 minutes. Does anybody have any corrections and changes? I do. On page 6, it is going to be under E. It's going to be the third paragraph, and I couldn't just make changes. I've just rewritten it. It should say, Chairman Murray stated her questions had to do with explaining to the public the different ways the town does roads and drainage. Municipal managed project in which the state pays 2/3, Middleton Road, and the town owns the road. The municipally managed Center Street project in which the state pays 2/3 and the state owns and maintains the road. And then I was asking the question, is it a white line to white line? Because Dave Ford was here. When the state does South Main Street, is the state going to pay the whole thing, be responsible for maintenance? And it was another question that I had for Dave Ford. And then I said the state does not always pay 2/3. Sometimes they pay 100. So I will give that to Michelle. And then the next page down, the South Main Street project at estimated cost at $10 million. Change that. Those are the ones I had. We just pass that down to her. Anybody else have any changes or corrections? Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept it as amended? Do I have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next item on the agenda, I'd like to open up a public hearing, All Saints Episcopal Church to host the 59th Annual Summer Fair in the church parking lot on July 20th, 2019 from 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Is there somebody in the audience? Just state your name, please. I think we need to turn that on. We're switching it.
Two. There we go. Paul Dostey, 34 Friar Tuck Way, Wolfeboro. One of the co-chairs for the fair, and one correction, it's our 58, not our 59. Looking in anticipation to next year already. So.
Okay.
Minor changes, we're going back to 4 tenths rather than 3 tenths. We had 4 tenths 2 years ago, and we cut back a tenth last year. We're adding another tenth again this year. And that's about it. We're backing up from 10 o'clock to 9:30 starting time also. Last year was 10 o'clock. No, we're going to start at 10:30. Yeah. And that's about it. We already have application in for a sign.
Yep, I see that right here.
Also an application for the tents. And I guess that's...
Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this event? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, do you have any comments or concerns? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the All Saints Episcopal Church to host their 58th annual summer fair in the church parking lot on July 20, 2019 from 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You have your permit.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to open up the next public hearing. It's the First Congregational Church of Wolfeboro to host an early morning service at 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. every Sunday at Kate Park from June 21st to September 29th, 2019. The First Congregational Church to hold a sunrise service at Albee Beach on April 21st, 2019 from 5:30 a.m. to 6:30, 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. Do I have anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to that? No? I'm
Meg Hagen, 44 Warren Sands Road. I'm a deacon at the church.
Okay. Does the board have any questions? Do I have anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this event? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. There are really two events. There is the weekly church service in Cape Park, and there is the sunrise service at Albee Beach. Board members, anybody have any concerns or questions?
As long as our colleagues know that this is still an open park, people will be walking through. You have no objection?
Yeah.
We'd have no objection.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the First Congregational Church of Wolfeboro to host early morning service at 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. every Sunday at Cape Park, June 21st, September 29th, 2019, and also to host a sunrise service at Albee Beach on April 21st, 2019 from 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
You have your permits.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'll open up the next public hearing, a request by Heather Martin to use Cape Park for a wedding ceremony on October 19th, 2019 from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Expected number of guests, 120. Will provide chairs if allowed. Is anybody here to speak to this? Board members, what would you like to do with this? This came in as, most of it comes in as an appointment. I'm assuming this came in as for a special event permit because they're looking for 2 hours. Usually the weddings just quickly take place and then leave. So I'm not sure exactly how you want to handle this. My concern is I would really like to talk to somebody. 120 guests, that's a lot of chairs to get in that Cape Park, and it still needs to be open to the public. They did say that if they couldn't have that number of chairs, they were okay with it. I don't know if they gave us the time for the, that's 2 hours seems long for me. Any board members have any comments?
I did say it there, the ceremony will be about 30 minutes plus the setup and breakdown time, so assuming quite a bit of time for to take up the 2 hours, I'm assuming would take up most of that. I don't know, my opinion would be, seeing as this is in the middle of October, there was still plenty of time there, it'd be nice to maybe reach out to them and have that discussion about the chairs rather than just make a decision without them being here. Kind of my opinion.
Why don't we book the date and ask for just a conversation before we do a hard commit on it, but just book the date.
We usually don't grant a permit for a wedding. We have another one on that's just asking to use the facility, use Cape Park, and so I'm comfortable with that. What I would think is that we have a conversation with them and talk to them about the chairs, and if we're not granting a permit, we are okay with them using it. It's just how they use it.
Right.
And the reason I said book the date, Madam Chairman, is just in case something else comes on that date,
I guess I was saying we grant it and
Grant
then,
it.
and grant it because we're not going to grant a permit. We're just going to grant the use, and then have the town manager talk to them about the number of chairs and leaving it open.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Everybody okay with that? All right. So somebody wants to make a motion that we allow them to use Cape Park. Okay, I'll finish it on October 19th, 2019 from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All righty. Next item on the agenda, I'll open up the next public hearing. It's the Governor Wentworth Arts Council to host the 10th annual Paint Wolfeboro on August 14th, 2019. Rain date August 15th from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., headquarters in Cape Park, and also throughout various locations in the downtown.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madeline Albee for Governor Wentworth Arts Council in regard to our request for the permit for Paint Wolfeboro for the 10th year.
The 10th year. And do you want to kind of tell us about it, because you have the public listening?
I'm sorry, I can't understand you
Okay.
well.
Do you want to give us some more information, because this is on television and people can hear a little bit more about the event?
Our publicity committee will be taking care of all of that, I'm sure. We don't require anything special from the police other than a cruise through maybe a couple of times during the day, because our guests are very well behaved. The only thing I would mention is to the town, and it's not a criticism, but please do not fertilize the lawn the day before. That happened once, and it was not pleasant.
All right, we will make a note of that.
Yeah, you can save the
Town
boys.
manager, will you make a note about fertilization? Okay, good point. We will take care of that. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this permit? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, are there any questions or concerns? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant the Governor Wentworth Arts Council a permit to hold the 10th annual Paint Wolfeboro on August 14th, 2019, with a rain date of August 15th, from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., headquartered in Cape Park, also throughout various locations in downtown.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? You have your permit.
Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the bulk vote. We have weekly manifest, property tax abatement and refund. Brad, did you have one you wanted to remove?
Yes, I'd like to, on B4, the abatement number 28, there were some typo errors on that as far as the dates and how the math was all done on that, so I'd like to remove that to get some further clarification from our assessor.
Okay, and we also have exemptions and credits, and then I'd like to remove D, elderly tax deferred application. So can somebody make a motion to remove B, 4, and D from the bulk vote? Or I'll make that and somebody can second it.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Now I'll make a motion that we accept the bulk vote minus those two items.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. There we go. Next item on the agenda is the monthly revenue and expense report. We have our finance director here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Second evening in a row.
I know, so much excitement. Okay, so tonight I'm pleased to speak with you all tonight to provide you with a brief overview of our finance state of the union. Although I've not yet been with the town for a full year, it seems like a good time to take a moment to both reflect and look forward, as the 2018 budget is behind us and we've taken on the next budget. And as I have also now completed my first new budget process with the town, marked by the completion of the deliberative session last night for all of us. As I reflect over these past 6 months, I'm pleased to share with you the many positive accomplishments we have enjoyed in the finance department. And it is in no small part thanks to the great efforts of our various department heads and support staff. My initial task as a new department head was to get to know the department, personnel, and practices so that I could identify the areas of greatest success and build upon those. I certainly have seen many areas in which the town, and more particularly in which the finance department, has managed the business of the people well. For example, although we did see some isolated budget overruns here and there for the 2018 budget, which you'll find those detailed in your packets. Overall, most department heads not only came within their budgets, but managed to come in under budgets. This kind of fiscal responsibility was a pleasure to see. More, the areas in which we came in at or below budget served to make up for any overspending elsewhere. It was a real team effort. Of course, the finance department is still crossing its T's and dotting its I's as we work our way through the final few residual invoices for 2018, and where the year-end review process is underway, and we still have the annual audit to complete, there may be a few adjustments to our final figures. But that being said, we should not be more than 100% expended overall. The expended to date totals are as follows. General fund, 97.665%. Water fund, 95.638%. Electric fund, 97.726%. Sewer fund, 99.331%. Pop Whalen, 102.642%, with the overall expended to date at 97.710%. Another notable accomplishment that was demonstrated in last night's deliberative session, which again represents my first completed budget process with the town. What a great opportunity it's been to work with the town manager, the department heads, the Board of Selectmen, and the Budget Committee to come together and present the 2019 budget to the voters. I've benefited from the passion and commitment of so many people and offer my thanks and praise for the dedication these volunteers and employees have demonstrated. This year in Wolfeboro has been marked with some changes in personnel, including a new town manager, a new finance director, and a new finance associate. For my part, there are 3 employees in the finance department, and that means 2/3 of the finance department was starting fresh, all at the same time, right at the beginning of budget season. It was a challenge to be sure, but one we rose up to. We did pretty good, I think. I'd like to commend the staff for the excellent job they have done in the face of a large volume of work. Our finance department employees have worked hard to get to know the current software and accounting systems that have been in use, and they have certainly benefited in a myriad of ways from the efforts of those before us. At the same time, with so much new blood, we gain differing perspectives and fresh ideas that I feel confident will bring even greater fiscal responsibility and security to the citizens of Wolfeboro. As a team, we've identified some areas of opportunity for making small but important improvements and look forward to next year's budget process when we can implement some of these changes with an aim towards even greater stability and accountability. These include revamping the purchase order system. This started earlier in 2018 with a change in the procurement policy, which raised the threshold for purchase order from $250 to $1,000. And what a welcome change that brought. We also continue to review and identify both processes and software discrepancies that we are currently working on in order to move towards a more accurate and efficient system. The review of the purchase order system also led us to take a look at how we handle the spending of older money, particularly related to warrant articles and capital projects. We also began the process of officially creating a policy for capital reserve spending to provide increased transparency for the voters and also to move towards better aligning ourselves with the New Hampshire Department of Revenue standards and guidelines. We've been reviewing our payroll system and employee files, and where necessary, we've been taking steps to ensure that corrections are being made along the way. We will be proactive and transparent with respect to any corrections that we feel are necessary. More, as in all of our adjustments to practice, we will continue to be careful to maintain compliance with the New Hampshire Department of Labor and also the New Hampshire retirement system. Finally, as we continue to move through a review of the financial software and practices as a whole. We're hoping to do some reorganization in the finance department to set up some much-needed succession planning in order to ensure continuity and minimize the learning curve during future transitions. In closing, I'd like to say thank you to the town of Wolfeboro for allowing me the opportunity to serve as the finance director over the past 6 months. I recognize and appreciate the trust that's been placed in me and with the work that we have accomplished to date. I hope you find it was well placed. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Nice word.
For your report and getting us through to 18 and starting us out in 2019. And we'll work with you to move us forward.
Wonderful.
Any other board members have any comments?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the Cape Park wedding request, September 28th, 2019. Anybody here who is asking for a wedding? Jessica Mason? Why don't we, let's see, that's September 28th. Is that the one we just did?
That was October.
Oh, okay. What do you want to do about this, board members?
Maybe you should have her fill out a little more information. Fill out a form like everybody else does.
Well, they usually come and we get a letter. My feeling is, do we want to handle this the same way?
Yeah.
I think so.
We accept the date, get it down, and then have the town manager's office get the details. And we may want to write up a policy on how to use Cape Park, and that might make it a little easier for us in the future. So can I have a motion?
I move that we approve the Miss Jessica Mason's request to use Cape Park for her wedding ceremony on September 28th, 2019 at 3 p.m. and that the town manager will reach out to her and fill her and her folks in on the particulars and the limitations. It's an open park, and we want to make sure that they understand that. Okay, so that's my motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The next item on the agenda, we're going to table. The reason we're going to table it, it was not noticed. We have 3 of the people coming back, and they automatically get it. We have 1 space open, that's location 4. Number 4, it's in front of Kate Park, and we will notice it and then come back and deal with it at that point in time. Because it has to be noticed. And then it has to be open to everybody to have a chance to apply. Okay. Can I have a motion to table?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, next item on the agenda, we have boat agent agreements. The first one we have is with Goodhue and Hawkins. They collect our boat fees. Is there anybody here from Goodhue and Hawkins? We aren't doing very well tonight.
I think they've all gone to the New England Boat Show.
They must have been.
Yeah, they're all moving the boats down there now. There's a
Yeah,
carriage.
so here we go again. What do you want to do about this? I mean, it's pretty,
Move to approve it.
Dry.
I'll make a motion that we approve Goodhue and Hawkins for 2019 as a boat agent on an agreement.
Second.
any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, now we have landing permit. We have the Millie B. Is there anybody here? Ah, come on up. We finally got one.
Hello, I'm Martha Cummings, the Executive Director at the New Hampshire Boat Museum. So We have no changes from our permit application from last year. I have a feeling I didn't submit a check.
The only thing that I see is that your insurance will run out before the and you just have to renew it. And this gives you an opportunity to tell the public on television kind of what the boat and when you run. And
Sure. We run weekends, Memorial Day weekend through the last weekend of June. On a Saturday, Sunday schedule, we are quarter of the hour. And then the end of June through Labor Day weekend, we run 7 days a week. And so we have a 9:45 quarter of the hour schedule all the way to 4:45, plus private charters. And we have a lovely 1928 replica Hackercraft wooden boat. Holds up to 8 people. So we welcome all of you to join us and come for a ride.
What does the ticket cost?
$25, but we have discounts, so.
1 million people have just heard that.
Board members, does anybody have any questions, comments? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I move that we approve the commercial vessel landing permit for the Millie B and the Millie B, as stated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? You have your permit.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Tickets, right?
Commercial landing permit for the Mount Washington. I knew you were sitting there for something.
Hello, my name is Christopher Secord. I'm one of the owners of the MS Mount Washington, as well as the Director of Sales. I'm standing in for our beloved Captain Jim Morash, who is soaking up the sun and working on his golf game down in Florida. But on behalf of my partners, Ed Gardner and Jim Morash, we just want to thank the town of Wolfeboro for our long-standing relationship, and we're looking forward to introducing thousands of tourists to the beautiful town of Wolfeboro.
Thank you. I think just before you end, your insurance will run out. You'll just need to update us.
Sure.
And I'm assuming you're coming into town as you have over the last couple of years?
Several years, yep.
Okay. Does anybody on the board have any questions? Then can I have a motion?
I move that we accept the commercial landing permit for the Winnipesaukee Flagship Corporation for the MV Mount Washington for the coming year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All righty. Thank you very much for coming. Next item on the agenda is New Hampshire DES grant for milfoil control. And I think we have the chairman of that committee here.
Good evening, Susan Goodwin, Chair of the Milfoil Control Committee, and this is the grant we get every year from New Hampshire DES, reflecting 25% now of the bidded amounts for the chemical treatment, should we need one this year, and hand pulling as well. So the grant this year is $59,991. $59.91, excuse me. So I assume you will accept it. Why would you turn down money?
Yes, exactly. And we also are going to need to make a motion for the town manager to sign it. So can I have the first motion? I'll make the motion that we accept the contract for the milfoil control from DES.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And then I'll make a motion to authorize the acting town manager, James Pinio, to execute any documents which may be necessary for this grant agreement. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Thanks for the money.
All right, we're moving it along. All righty. Next item on the agenda is Clark Road Sewer Extension.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Randy Walker. I represent 3 property owners, Bob and Helen Conrad, the Rocky Claiborne Trust, and the Chris Peterson Trust, that own 3 lakeside properties at the end of Clark Road, just before McKinney Park. They're the 3 properties just inboard of McKinney Park. They're here tonight asking to extend the sewer line, which currently stops at the Greenleaf subdivision, about 1,000 feet short of their 3 properties. And they'd like to have the town extend the sewer line down to their 3 properties, all of which are currently under construction right now. If you go down Clark Road, you'll see feverish activity there. They propose to pay for 100% of the cost of the extension. So this is not a publicly financed project at all. They propose to pay roughly $150,000 to $200,000. And as Susan Goodwin just said, you know, why turn down free money? These 3 petitioners have an alternative, and they have all got state-approved septic designs to put septic systems on their property. They would like to occupy these properties in roughly 3 to 6 months. They have 2 choices: either tie into the town line or build their own septic systems, which they will do. They have to go one way or the other. Their strong preference, however, would be to have the town extend the line down to do that. All the work has been done from a design standpoint. Norway Plains Survey, Randy Tetro and his crew, and Randy lives on Clark Road. They've done the design work. Wood and Clay would be the general contractor, ready to go. And the Pispo Construction Company would be the company that would install the line, also ready to go on site right now. We've met numerous times with the town planner, Matt Sullivan, Dave Ford of Public Works. We've met with 2 different town managers trying to get input before we came to you this evening, and had a number of suggestions which we've incorporated into a petition which you should have in your package somewhere. We kept it to just a single page, and I'd just like to run through the petition if you have it handy. If not, again, I'll hit all the highlights. Number 1, this is not designed to cost the town anything. It would be paid for 100% with private funds. Number 2, the DES approvals would need to be obtained. That takes roughly 60 days. The hope would be that we could have a hearing at your next Selectmen's meeting, February 20th, notifying abutters to get abutter input in case they have any issues, or to make it open to the public. And assuming that it all goes well, that you would approve it on the 20th, so that an application could get put on the 21st. 60 days after that will get us into when they would start construction. The construction process will be about 2 weeks from start to finish. So DES approval would need to be obtained. Number 3, town approval needs to be obtained. We need to build this to town specs. We've had a fair amount of input from Dave Ford. They've discussed the sizing to make sure that not only will it service these people, if it's approved, but the people in between, and if it's extended past it in the future, that it could handle that. So the idea is that this isn't just a one-shot deal, that they're anticipating that it'll be futuristic. Connection stubs would be made to lots along the way that have primary structures within 100 feet of the sewer line as a proposal. There would be inspections, progress inspection with weekly reports. At the end, as-built plans would be done. Once the construction is completed, Norway Plains has already been tasked with doing as-built plans so the town will know exactly where the stubs are, the line is. The proposal is to put it in an abandoned waterline trench. There's already a trench that goes down this road on the lake side, and the intent would be to use that. It is in the road surface, so after work was done, again, if this is approved, they'd patch over it this year, wait a year, see what everything looks like, put money in escrow so that it could be paved over next year after a year of settlement. Connections, the owners would like to tie in upon completion of construction, which would be hopefully in 10 weeks, somewhere around there in a perfect world. And then they would also like to be exempted from the hookup fee of roughly $6,000, because they're going to spend the equivalent of $50,000 to $60,000 per house. So there's no money that they're asking the town to expend. The town would have the benefit of connections over time as people did hook into it. I did also take the liberty of suggesting that you might amend your sewer ordinance and drafted a proposed amendment to that, which would cover privately funded sewer lines. It's just something for consideration that the town may consider being a little more lenient on people mandatorily hooking in when the town is not expending its own funds. If it's expending them, sure, we want everybody to tie in, but if it's private funds, you may or may not. The three owners that are proposing this, they of course don't need waivers, but to try to soften the blow potentially for some neighbors, we've suggested that you might consider amending the ordinance at some point, and that doesn't have to be done immediately. Don't have to discuss that at the next hearing. It'll be done over a year if the selectmen are inclined to do that. Two observations tying into the town meeting last night. One of them was that probably the most passionate plea made last night by Dave Ford was the cyanobacteria issues, and never hurts to extend a sewer line and take 3 people off to protect the lake. So we had Articles 22 and 26 spending $100,000 to study and do things. So this is actually implementing those goals to pull, again, people off the system. So I think it's a win-win for the town, win-win for the lake, and a win-win for the property owners. The second observation was one made by Dave Bowers regarding the Libby Museum $118,000 gift. It's why would we turn down free money? These people here tonight are trying to expend their own money so that it doesn't cost the town anything. Should be a no-brainer. They tried to anticipate any issues and happy with input, but in a perfect world, we'd like to have a hearing if we could in 2 weeks with a butter input. We can make another presentation, and we're hopeful that the selectmen will approve the petition so the project could go forward, and then a year from now accept the line, presuming it was built the way it was supposed to be built, there's no issues, and you've had a chance to look at it. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. I don't know if anyone else wants to weigh in on this.
We have have everything in the packet. We have a draft of how we may change the ordinance to address private hookups, but we just have an initial draft on that. I've got to agree with you. I think the town has made a commitment to try to get properties around the lake on sewer. We did it on Sewell Road. We did it earlier on Clark. Adding 2 more houses to it, I think just makes good sense. I'm working with that committee on cyanobacteria, and so I'm really supportive of us moving forward here. Any other board members have any comments? Any questions for Randy? Okay.
I just say, I'm in favor of this too and stuff, but I do have a question. I was really concerned, or a question on number 9 condition, the hookup fees. You talked about asking for a waiver on the $6,000 tie-in fee is there because they're investing in the line as it is there. I guess the question I would have, it might be more so for Dave back there, that when that gentleman extended that line out on Sewell Road beyond where we already had that pressure line, if that fell under the same type of setup here, if they were waived from the hookup fees when they tied in after extending on the sewer line for them there, so it might help me make a decision on how I feel about that part of it.
You're right. That was Mr. Southern, and we actually required the same things of him as we did here. So basically, he did pay for all the capital, all the engineering, did the as-bills, and we waived the connection fee for his property. Okay. Then going forward, though, as other people are tying in, we do collect fees for tying in. Right. Okay. And then we take over responsibility for operation and maintenance.
Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay, I have a motion. I move to schedule a public hearing of the Board of Selectmen for February 20th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. in the Great Hall at the Wolfeboro Town Hall to consider approval of a private extension of the Clark Road sewer line from Greenleaf to Laredo, Lawando Lane, with direct notice to provide to all the affected parties. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Righty, we're moving on.
Thanks, Randy.
Okay. Old business. I have one thing in old business. I want to remind everybody that voting will take place on March 12th from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. right here in the Great Hall. Does anybody else have any old business? Other business. I also have other business. The board needs to set a date to hold a short meeting to address one, maybe two conservation easements. I'm looking at Tuesday, the 12th of February at 6:30. Does that work for everybody?
Good here.
February 12th.
February, it's Tuesday.
Yep.
12th at 6:30 here in the Great Hall.
What are we doing?
We're going to, there'll be at least one thing on the agenda, and that is to approve conservation easements. And there may be some of the things we tabled tonight might come back up.
That can't be done at the next meeting then, right?
No, it needs to be done that day because it's going to close on the 14th, and the only way we can address it.
No problem, I'm just asking a question.
Yep. Is there anybody else who has any other business? Hearing none, we'll move on to the town manager's report.
As you've been aware, it's been a busy month or so. I'd like to echo what our finance director, Deb Zapkar, had said. The department heads over the past month or so have really worked diligently in making my transition into this position a pleasant one. And they are really working hard to provide the citizens of the town with a great service. I think that was echoed tonight by Mr. Walker. That project showed a lot of initiative by Dave Ford and by Matt Sullivan, and that's been a great project. Going forward, we're just plugging away, and that's pretty much where we sit right now.
Okay, I'm just going to go back. I forgot to announce this. The Chamber of Commerce will hold a candidates night on March 4th from 5:30 p.m. I think till 7, right here at the Town Hall, Great Hall. And we have a number of contests that are, we have more than one running, so it'll give people an opportunity to come hear those candidates. And I want to thank the Chamber for doing that for the community.
What time is that again?
That's at 5:30 here at the Great Hall.
CBA is supposed to meet here on the 4th. Okay.
Okay. We're still on.
There you go, Dave.
It's all going to move. We're just going to have to move quickly. Committee reports. I'll start down with Paul.
Okay. I've been visiting with the Police Commission. We had our annual review by the chief and the team of what they had, and that's available for folks. I think it's on the website. We swore in a new sergeant, recently promoted, which was a fun thing to do. We just saw the Clark Road discussion. I participated in a meeting with the folks, and I got to tell you, this is very professional. These folks are just anxious to do the right thing, and I think we're on to doing our public hearing, which is important. The Energy Committee is busy. They're starting a work plan. They're not waiting for the master plan to be formally vetted, although it will be. but they're getting lined up against that, which is the right thing to do. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I spent time with our Parks and Recs team the other day. We have a couple of citizens who have approached us, and they want to volunteer their time and their energy because they have some background information in landscape design. They want to pitch in and help do some things potentially at Cape Park. So with Jim's support, I reached out to Christine, and we just had kind of an introductory meeting, kicked that off, and we'll let that go along. As Linda mentioned, I as well am on the Cyanobacteria Committee, and I attended that the other day. It's interesting, we're now starting to get some folks, even as recently as today, expressing some interest in joining the committee, and I think that's good. And then last evening, for the people who are watching TV, I think this town and the people who work in this town bust their backs every day for you, and I think that came out loud and clear last evening. They work hard, and there's always an opportunity to do better, but I think by and large, I think this crew of people works really hard, and I was very pleased and exceptionally proud to be a selectman and watch that. So that's my committee reports.
I've been to the ZBA meeting. I think we all went to a retirement party.
Yes.
Ann Marble, who had deliberation last night, and that's what I've been doing lately.
I joined everybody last night at the deliberative session. We've had a couple of Libby Museum Building Committee meetings there to go over our feasibility study there moving forward. Last week we had a master plan infrastructure meeting for working on the master plan. And actually tomorrow morning, I believe it's still on, we have a hazard mitigation meeting to work on update our plan for that. Friday, yes, not tomorrow. Friday.
Well, the days kind of roll into each other,
don't
they? All right. I attended and gave a presentation at the Economic Development, Business Retention and Expansion Report to the public. It happened on January 31st. There was about 25 people in attendance. Each subcommittee reported on how they had worked on their goal. It was taped, and so if anybody would like to watch that, you can do that on community TV. I also went to a meeting with Congressman Chris Pappas, who came to the WETCO office to meet with some people in town to see how he could help. We talked about Route 28 funding and hoping that the feds would not cut that because that's what's going to fund the rebuild of Route 28. We talked about broadband, telecommuting, and the lack of reliable cell service in town. We told them we owned our own telephone poles, so if anybody with 5G wanted to come, we were ready for them. And we talked about the need for water quality, our issue with cyanobacteria, and in any way he could help with us with that would be great. I went to the Infrastructure and Transportation Subcommittee meeting of the Master Plan. I also went to the Cyanobacteria Committee, and I just want to read, it was up on the screen last night, and I'm just going to hit the highlights of the Cyanobacteria Committee's mission statement. It's to coordinate community-wide efforts protecting the health, welfare of property owners, residents, and visitors of Wolfeboro, by 1, assessing the water quality, 2, identifying and mitigating stormwater pollution, 3, informing the public, and 4, creating protocols so that if we have another outbreak, we can react quickly. There's more in there, but those were the highlights. So we're really trying to move forward on that and address any future outbreaks. And I also attended a Libby Museum meeting to be updated on the design and possible funding. Dave?
I went to the meeting last night. No committee meetings that I've attended. I've helped to continue to help a number of people working on Wolfeboro history projects, and I reactivated my thinking about putting signs on historic places, and have taken some pictures and sent some to Maggie Steer about marking historic places. A week or two ago, I was tapped as a member of the Board of Selectmen to go down to Concord and spend a whole day long, it turned out to be, with Matt Pupper and the moderator on a mediation that started at 9 in the morning and didn't end till the late afternoon, where two parties in North Wolfeboro had been duking it out more or less, and they came to a very amicable conclusion. One bought the other person's property and offered him a nice profit. They shook hands and they had smiles on their faces, but it was very interesting to spend an entire day mostly with Mark Pupper, because we were both out of the conference room and just talking about town business, and what an impressive knowledge he has.
Okay. I guess we aren't going to have any questions from the press. She didn't come tonight. We must have worn her out last night.
She's probably watching it on TV. She does that sometimes.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience with public input time? Anybody? Seeing none, can I have a motion to go into non-public session?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Paul?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
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 Okay.